The world's over in 2030. Why go to the gym? Why get strong? Why work hard? Why get rich? Why be funny? Why be charismatic? Why do anything? It doesn't matter. The world's going to end. Sit in your pod. Wait for the food delivery. That's what they want from all of us. They want all of us to have absolutely no ambition and to sit there and be slave-minded. And it's very difficult to resist enslavement if you need the government to eat. I think all governments on the planet are constantly trying to encroach on the freedom of their populace, trying to get closer and closer to some version of communism where you have to absolutely and utterly comply or you literally do not have food to eat. And that's what they want. And it's an obvious agenda. It's a very obvious agenda, and it plays into the worst characteristics of the human psyche. Because there are a lot of people out there who, when given the excuse to be lazy, will be lazy. When given the excuse for why they're not successful, will take that excuse and use it as a shield for their own glaring, obvious failings. And we're now building two camps. We have the camps of losers and winners, and the winners are telling the truth, and the losers are just adopting all of the slave mind programming. And unfortunately, it's becoming more and more dangerous now to even say the truth because these losers band together like hyenas and attack anybody who stands up and tells the truth, like they've attacked you and like they've attacked me. The people who are trying to put me in jail are not good people. They're not good people. They're not honest, hardworking, God-fearing people. They're evil people, and they know exactly what they're trying to do. It's scary. Absolutely, they don't have God on their side. The moral arc of the universe bends towards truth. It takes unlimited energy to continue to propagate a lie. It's very difficult to do. It goes against the law of physics. If you put a lie into the universe, you need to continually push that lie to keep it afloat. It's like a hot air balloon. You need to keep that engine running. You need to keep the flame going permanently to keep it floating. Because as long as people use their own eyes and their own senses and eventually begin to think, the lie is going to sink and it's going to disappear. And there's certainly been a shift in consciousness in the last 3 to 4 years. 3 to 4 years ago, it was much worse than it is today. And I feel like I said this when I was canceled in August of last year. I was doing Patrick Bet-David's podcast, and I said, they are making a mistake. When you have power, the only guarantee to power is that one day you will lose it. And the quickest way to lose power is to overuse it, to overreach, to overstretch. When you do that, everyone loses faith in you. For you to have power, you must have the faith of the populace. Once people understand that you're abusing your power and it's no longer a fair system, they're no longer interested in what you have to say or your power mechanisms. And then you can only resort to complete brutality. And I think it's going to be quite difficult for them to do now that the consciousness of people are waking up. But certainly, yeah, I feel like we are winning now. I feel like you and I have been through the trenches and suffered the absolute worst of it 5 to 6 years ago. And now most people understand. They overstepped with the COVID lies. They overstepped with the censorship. They overstepped with the election lies. They overstepped trying to say anybody who tells the truth is a sexual predator. They overstepped by protecting all the people who we know do genuinely bad things they refuse to talk about. They overstepped so many times now that people have a thirst in their hearts to know what's really going on. And that's our chance to finally make it clear to people. And I pray we can finally get through to people to a level where next time they try the next big psyop, which we can talk about, which might be coming up soon, everybody rejects it. Because there's something really important, Alex. We talk always about who controls the world. But ultimately, without our compliance, they can't control anything. We control the world. A mask mandate is a piece of paper. It's a piece of fucking paper. That's it. It's cowardice that makes that have power. If everyone wasn't a coward and stood up and said, no, I'm sorry, I respectfully decline, then it's over. We still control the world, but that's why they're trying their absolute best to make sissies of all of us. And it's very interesting we say this because I don't want anyone to think we're inciting violence because that's not what we're doing. Even during the last COVID lockdown, you can resist so easily in a non-violent way. If I went into a store and they said, do you have a mask? Put a mask on. Don't have one, sorry. Okay, I'll give you one. Okay, give me one. And then I wouldn't walk over to take it. No, I stand there and make them walk across the store to give it to me. Then I take it and I half hang it on my ear and I don't wear it properly. Then they come up to me and say, oh, you need to wear it properly. I say, oh, okay. Then I don't wear it properly. Then I take it off completely. Then they come up to me and go, oh, where's your mask? I say, sorry, I dropped it on the floor and it's dirty. I need another one. Then they have to go back behind the counter, get another mask, walk back to the other side of the store, give it to you. Make them work. Make them work. If they want you to wear a mask so fucking bad, make them walk a marathon. Make them work. Don't make it easy for them. If they want to stand there and try and make a slave of you, at least make them do something for it. I had people walking back and forth around stores getting me 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different masks. I never even put it on. because I dropped it on the floor, right? We're all scared of germs now. I can't wear a mask from the floor. It might have COVID on it. Don't come too close. Social distancing. Just put the mask there. I'll collect it in a second. Make them work for it. That's civil disobedience. If everyone did that, imagine you worked in a store and every person who came in did what I just described. Are you going to really run around for 12 hours a day? You'll give up after 2 hours. But the reason it doesn't happen, the reason they get away with this is because everybody just complies. Mask on, okay. Like, I'm not describing anything violent. I'm not describing anything that will get you arrested. I'm not describing anything that will even cause an argument. I'm just talking about using your fucking brain and having some balls. And it's very important. If they try and bring this back, I really pray that this will be a breaking point for their entire apparatus, because I think enough people are awake now to absolutely and utterly resist. That was a huge psyop, and I love to think, and I hope I'm right. I love to think that anybody who lived through that has learned their lesson. And like I said, the number one guarantee of power is that you will lose it, because eventually with power you will overstep and you will overreach. And if they try another lockdown, another pandemic, I think it's the biggest overreach they could possibly try. So I hope they do it, and I hope that people do what they're supposed to do, which is say no. Yeah, so it's kind of scary because we are the tip of the spear, and when you're the leader, when you're the lead of the charge, they want you dead first, right? It's kind of like the old adage. They said if 5 guys are going to start a fight on you, hit the biggest one first. And that's why they're coming for men like us, because they know we're inspiring a resistance. And the resistance we're inspiring is nothing more than self-respect and parameters for what you'll accept from a government, and to stand up and say, I'm a sovereign individual and I'm allowed to decide what goes in my blood. Imagine thinking you're not allowed to decide what goes inside of your own blood. Imagine waking up and saying, my blood is not mine. It belongs to the government. It's absolutely insane. But what they're going to try and do next is control the money. Because when they control the money, they can control where you go, and they can control whether you eat or not. And I don't know about anybody else, but I can tell you from my own personal experience, in the last 3 to 4 years, the banking sector has become more strict than it's ever been. It's become harder and harder to not only make money, but move money and have money. 10 years ago, if you wanted to do $1 million wire, it was a headache. Nowadays, if you want to do $1 million wire internationally, let's say I want to say $1 million to, I don't know, Turkey or Qatar or Australia, anywhere, the amount of headache, paperwork, delays, it's nearly impossible to do. It's getting harder and harder because they want to control the money. If they control the money, they control absolutely not only everything else by extension. So it's CBDCs that's coming. The banking system locking people down for dissidents, is, we already know, is happening. And once they control the money, then they're going to come along and say, don't worry, you're allowed money if you do this. And from there, they're going to expand out. I don't think most people understand that absolutely every single thing they talk about propagating and pushing to the populace is a Trojan horse. I was arguing about climate change with someone the other day, and I said, listen, I love the environment. I would hate for nature to be destroyed. I love nature. Nobody with a sane mind dislikes nature. The problem is we can't make any laws to protect nature, because every single time we do, they Trojan horse it with some garbage that has nothing to do with the actual issue and is purely agenda driven to destroy my life and make me a slave. So what can we do now? And that's what they're going to do. They're going to come along, control all the money, and they're going to say, because of the climate, you're allowed money if you don't drive your car very often. And that has nothing to do with saving the earth. It's everything to do with controlling you. And that's the problem. Now we have people in charge of us that we can't even trust to fix any issue ever, because all they're interested in is injecting Trojan horses and destroying our lives. It's incredible. Has a border, and by extension no longer has a legal system, because without a border you don't have a legal system, you don't even have a nation anymore. You want to talk about rape without consent, you absolutely utterly nailed it. And they use this word and they use this attack on any strong man primarily as an effort to damage masculinity. They make it out to the world that if you're a man who is traditionally masculine, who stands up, who is strong, who is not apologetic for his opinions, then by extension, you must be a rapist. And they do this so that men are afraid to act this way, because that, once again, pushes the idea that men should be sissies and soft, so it's easier for them to have slave-minded individuals. What's actually crazy is this. Women want men who are masculine. The kind of man who is not going to rape is the kind of man who has choices and genuine access to females who love him. Why would a man who is successful in all realms of human endeavor, including his relationships with females, ever rape anybody? No, I'll tell you who's a rapist. The liberal who eats the bugs, who's fat and ugly, with no personality, who's sad on antidepressants. No woman wants him. He's the kind of guy who has to rape to have sex, not the traditionally masculine, toxically male, the man they try and say. So it's absolutely and utterly, it's a mind attack. It's a psyop. By saying if you stand up and you have muscles and you have a nice car and you're rich and you're strong and you have opinions and you say, yeah, this is what I believe and I'm not sorry for it, that means you are a bad person and by extension a rapist. And what they're trying to do is stop men from acting that way. They want all of us afraid. Without fear, none of this works. I think it was Goebbels who said it. I don't know if your research team can find it. Goebbels said it. You lie and you lie on repeat and you make them afraid. And that's all you have to do. Nazi Germany literally said the exact same thing and look what they did to the world. And it's amazing that the tactics haven't changed. The apparatus, the MSM hasn't changed. It's the same game. It's exactly the same game it's always been. Well, that's the thing, because they want me to cower or cuck. What they're trying to do is, because I inspire so many people, if they can break me, they can break the souls of millions of people by extension. And also what they're trying to do, they're hoping that I will believe I can reason with these psychopaths. I don't think I can reason with people who hate me. They hate me. They hate everything I stand for. They hate the way I walk. They hate the way I look. They hate the way I think. They hate my ideas. They hate my relationships with my brother. They hate my friends. They hate everything about me. I have no interest in trying to reason with them. I'm not going to stand up and say, well, maybe if I talk a little bit softer, they'll be nice to me. No, I don't operate under that frame. It's like Churchill. Churchill said, no, we're not going to negotiate with Hitler. There's no point in negotiating with this man. I'm not here to negotiate with anybody. If you're going to destroy me, do it. I'm going to hold my head high. I'm going to walk into court with my head held high before I get dragged off to jail. I'm not going to cuck or cower because that's a spiritual loss. You can do what you want to my body. You can put me in jail, but you won't break my spirit. A spiritual victory is enough for me. I know I'm innocent. I know I've done nothing wrong. I know I tell the truth. I know I help people. I'm not going to back down or cower or give up. And Trump knows he's innocent too. And sometimes in these scenarios where you don't stand a chance, technically, legally, when you're dealing with apparatus of man, which has been rigged against you because humans are imperfect, all you can do is look to God and understand the truth of your heart, the truth of your soul, and aim for a spiritual victory. And you have a spiritual victory of a man, as a man, by having your head held high. If they were about to shoot me in the head by firing squad, I would go down with my head held high with a smile on my face. I'm not going to fucking cry. You're going to shoot me anyway. You're going to shoot me anyway. So they're going to do what they're going to do to me, and they're going to do what they do to Trump anyway. The best thing we can do is act like men, because that pleases God. And you know what's funny? What's funny about the world is if you please God, if you act with honor and integrity and you do the right thing, and God likes you, it's amazing how favored you become. Some people will call it lucky. I don't call it that. I call it favored. When you act the right way, it's amazing what God will give you. And almost sometimes in impossible odds, you manage to pull it off. And people go, how did they do that? Because you made God happy.
I want you to submit to me your vision for your dream life. Every time I ask somebody what their dream life is, they give a very lazy, sloppy answer. Well, I want to be rich. How rich? What does rich mean? How much money? Is it in liquid cash? Is it in stocks? Is it in crypto? In which country is it held? How do you diversify to protect yourself against matrix attacks? Who's your accountant? What's the name of the banks your money's held in? What are you going to buy? For you to become rich and successful is going to require pain and suffering, and you have to understand exactly what your dream life is to make the pain and suffering worthwhile. Think about it. Have you ever been to the gym and seen a person in fantastic physical condition? They're strong, they're ripped, they're large. And you say to them, how did you get so big and strong? And they say, I don't know. Oops, it kind of just happened. Or have you ever found a really rich man or a very successful man and said, how did you become rich and successful? And he goes, I don't know, bro. I just woke up one day and it kind of happened and now I'm living my dream life. No. There is a very detailed plan and roadmap. For you to become strong, you must eat a certain way. You must train a certain way. For you to become rich, you must earn money a certain way. You must understand exactly how you're going to make money, whether you're going to be a public-facing figure like me or a man of the shadows with millions of dollars. Unknown, but extremely powerful. You have to design your dream life. What house are you going to live in? Who's your woman going to be? Is she blonde? Is she brunette? What car are you going to drive? Have you even gone on the internet and spec'd your car? You can design your dream car right now for free on the internet, and you can choose the color. You can choose the wheels. You can choose the carbon. Is it a Lamborghini? Is it a Ferrari? Is it a McLaren? How much does it cost to the dollar? You talk about your dream life. You don't even know what your dream life is. How do you expect to get to a destination when you don't know where you're going? Do you understand? I designed my dream life long ago, before I was known, before I had anything. And I worked very hard with a very concise, very detailed plan to ensure I ended up exactly where I wanted to be. And you're not going to end up where you want to be if you don't know where it is. So, for that reason, I want you to submit to me your dream life. I want you to be as detailed as possible. Do you have children? What house you're in? What your woman looks like? What's her personality like? Where did you meet her? What kind of person is she? What car do you drive? Who are your friends? Who are your network? What kind of men are you hanging around with? How are you making money? Are you known? Are you not known? What is your ideal job? How much money do you want to make a month? How much money do you have saved? You have to understand exactly what your dream life is. This is more than just an exercise in understanding how to become a successful person. This is an exercise in life. Without diligent planning, without concise, compendious plans, the chance of you achieving nearly anything is zero.
God is watching all of these things. And these people who think they can just throw people in jail on some garbage are going to see that there is a karmic retribution in the universe and that the truth is on our side. And I know exactly how Trump feels. Trump is waking up frustrated, angry, but he sees himself serving a purpose higher than these orchestrated, pretend Shakespearean plays, these corrupt systems of man. And he says, you know what? I'm going to walk in there, and the only person I'm interested in pleasing is God. I'm going to walk in there like a man.
The first thing is they have to remove the warrior class from society so they can subjugate everybody.
Right.
It's always been the same. When the Romans would turn up and they'd conquer a Greek town, they'd kill all the military-age males, they'd slash all their necks so that there's never going to be a resistance force against their occupation. So they're trying to demasculinize us all because they intend on making us all slaves. And they don't want men who are going to stand up and resist against them, men like me saying things that they don't like. So they want to just basically turn everyone into eunuchs and cucks. So they sit there and allow that that's what they want. They want you to give up your women and give up control of your family and give up control of your children's minds and give up control of your land to foreign invaders.
Yep.
And they want you to just sit there and accept it all. So they have to remove the masculine spirit because anyone who's remotely masculine is going to say, no, this is my country, my land, my town, my wife, my kids, my house, and you're not going to control any of them and no one's going to take them off me. So they have to remove that. But also I think another reason is when laws are made, it's quite annoying that they have to make laws for the group. They can't make laws for the specific. They have to make laws based on the lowest percentile of the population.
Yeah.
I talked about speed limits with this, and it's a very easy example, but I have world champion athlete reflexes. I've done thousands of hours of professional driver training. I have 60 cars. I drive them every day. I am passionate about driving. I have vehicles which can stop at twice the speed a normal car could stop at. The speed limit for me should not be the speed limit for everybody else. I'm better than everybody else in a better machine. But they can't do that. They can't say the speed limit is 50, but Tate can go 100 because Tate is exceptionally intelligent, genius IQ, has an SF9E that has carbon ceramic brakes. He doesn't drink alcohol. He doesn't take drugs. So Tate can do 100 and you have to do 50. They can't do that. So what they say is we have to make a speed limit for everybody. So the 50 speed limit is based on the woman who drinks on the weekends, who doesn't even like driving, who doesn't pay attention, who listens to her music too loud and does a lip gloss in the mirror as she drives. So they have to make the limit based on the lowest percentage of performers.
Right.
A group can only move as fast as the slowest member.
Right.
So when they make any law, they have to come along and say, who are the lowest performers? Who are the biggest losers in society? Because we have to accommodate for these people.
Very true.
And we have to punish the other people at the top by making this big group law where you have to accommodate for the losers. So you're saying, why is masculinity under attack? Well, they're coming along saying, well, for the group, what's going to be good for the overall group? We don't want certain people to be monumentally successful. We don't want certain people to be outside of this percentile. We don't want certain people to be outside of this parameter. Let's just make a law for the overall group. Let's make rules for the overall group. And they haven't sat there because, I mean, I have to give feminists, although they're idiots, I have to give them credit. I understand what they're trying to do. Feminists, I understand what you're trying to do, but in typical female fashion, you f***ed it up. Because what they're trying to say is toxic masculinity is a man who gets very angry and is big and aggressive and gets mean and then loses his temper at his wife and beats his wife up. That is toxic masculinity. I agree. So then they say men shouldn't be big and aggressive and mean. But that doesn't work because you need big, aggressive, mean men to protect
Yeah.
women. You need big, aggressive, mean police officers and soldiers. So they've come along saying, for the group, we need to make everyone not be big, aggressive, and mean anymore because there's a couple idiots who are big, aggressive, and mean and beat the shit out of their wife. That is the wrong solution.
Generalization.
It's a generalization.
Yeah.
It's the generalizations that they're scared of, was they don't understand the best men on the planet are big, aggressive, and mean. Those are the best men on the planet. Those are the men they need most. Feminists need big, aggressive, mean men to protect them for their points of view because they can't protect themselves, meaning they have no point of view without men, meaning feminism's a masculine movement anyway.
It is.
The whole world is a masculine movement because men are the only ones who can defend an idea. If you can't defend an idea, you don't have an idea. So all these women, when they sit on these podcasts and they say blah, 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 that's all fine. But please understand, men allow you to say these things and men protect you because otherwise you wouldn't have an opinion. You'd be absolutely subjugated. So that's why they're trying to demasculinize society, because they're making generalized rules based on the lowest percentile of the population. And then, in a more sinister fashion, they're trying to put the entire world into a slavery or a serfdom because, I mean, they've always been looking for control. The elites have always been looking for control. I don't think this is a relatively new thing. We've moved into a very interesting period in human history because what used to happen is the elites would try very hard to subjugate. The people would realize they're being subjugated, or they'd rebel, or they'd get upset. The elites would then be ousted and replaced.
Yep.
So if you had a king in charge of a country and there was a peasant revolt and a civil war and he lost that war, he would end up dead and a new king would come. But I don't think that happens anymore because, firstly, the people who are leading us, we don't know who they are, truly. I mean, I can guess, I can say some names, but that would just accelerate my decline. We don't know where they are. They're not geographically stuck to a particular area. So they could be anywhere doing anything. Could they ever be replaced or changed and the new puppet who comes in truly be different? Well, we've seen some attempts with that, with Trump, for example.
Yep.
Look at what they're doing to him.
Another 40 cases.
Yeah, well, there you go, right? So that's an interesting scenario. And it's also a very interesting scenario because we're entering the age of AI. And I feel like usually what happened was the elites would lie to the populace. The populations would wake up because the world is cyclical, right? What we're going through now, I'm sure there's been people who have always believed the world is going to end. I really wake up sometimes, I look around and think this is all about to collapse. It's over. The end times are here. But I'm sure they felt the same in World War II.
Yeah.
I'm sure they felt the same when the Roman Empire was falling.
The age of Atlantis. All
Yeah,
of that
I'm
stuff.
sure everyone sat there and thought, this is the end. I'm sure the Romans, when they saw the Roman Empire on fire, saw the barbarians and thought, this is it. This is civilization. It's over now. It's over forever. So we've always felt that way. But I've sit and realized that what would happen is in this cyclical system is that the peasants would rebel against the elites and the elites would be replaced and the elites would come in with perhaps truthful intentions and over time would begin to lie and they'd continue to lie and lie and lie and lie until eventually the population would once again fight against the elites and the elites would be replaced and they'd come along with a version of truth and they'd lie and lie and lie and lie. But now we're entering a period because they've pushed it too far. They've lied too much. Every single thing they say is a lie. Every single system is broken. Nobody stands a chance of getting out the matrix. You're never going to be able to pay off your house. You're going to stay poor forever. Everybody's upset. Everybody wants to rebel. But we can't replace our elites very easily, one. And two, I feel like we've moved paradigm from lying to just brutal force because I think AI is going to be used to force everybody to comply. So it's interesting in only 10 years ago. Well, that's another conversation. Whether AI will become sentient and take them down, I'm
Skynet,
not sure.
right?
Yeah, Skynet. Yeah. And that's very scary to me. But 10 years ago, if they want the population to comply with something, they had to lie to you and convince you to do it. And I feel like we're now moving into a new age where they don't need to lie to you. They don't need to convince you to do it. Soon it's going to be, we don't care if you want to do it or not, do it. Otherwise, you're not going to get your food parcel delivered to your 15-minute city pod. It's just going to become brutal force. And they can use AI to do that with police. Once the police are robotic and once they control everywhere we go, once facial recognition cameras are everywhere, once all the cars are electric and once the money's electrical, and once a lot of the populace become useless, which is going to happen by AI as well. All the low-skilled jobs are going to be replaced. The average man's not going to be able to compete in the labor market.
It's already begun.
That's right. So it's going to be a form of communism where you need the government to feed you, and they're only going to feed you if you get the injections they tell you to get. Otherwise, you're not going to get your food allocation. And they're not going to sit there and say, you should get the injection. It's safe and effective. They're going to say, you should get the injection or you're not going to eat. So we're moving to a new era now, a new age where they no longer need deception and sugar-coated lies, and they can rely on brute force and brute computation to force you to comply. And I think it's actually the most scary version of this circle. We talked about how the world is cyclical. Never before in history has humanity been replaced. There's always been a human element, and that's now being removed. So I feel like perhaps this is actually the end of the world this time.
Yeah.